She escaped a loveless marriage, but the billionaire next door taught her what love feels like. Have you ever felt invisible in your own life? Like you're screaming but no one hears you? That's exactly how Sloane Baptiste felt, trapped in a marriage that slowly erased who she was, piece by piece, day by day. But sometimes, escape isn't just about leaving. It's about learning what you deserve. And for Sloane, that lesson came from the most unexpected place, the billionaire living right next door. Welcome, welcome, welcome to a story about second chances, rediscovering yourself, and the kind of love that heals wounds you didn't even know you had. Whether you're watching from the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, somewhere beautiful in Africa, across Europe, or anywhere else in this amazing world, I'm so glad you're here. Before we dive into this journey, do me a huge favor. Smash that like button right now, hit subscribe so you never miss stories like this, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Are you Team USA, Canada, UK, Australia, Africa, Asia? I want to know who's here with us today. Now, let me tell you about Sloane Baptiste and Rhodes Ashford. She's 34, just escaped 7 years of emotional emptiness, trying to remember who she used to be. He's 37, a tech billionaire who's built an empire but forgotten how to truly live. Two broken people, one neighborhood, and a love story that'll make you believe in starting over. Let's begin. Sloane Baptiste sat in her car outside her new rental house in Savannah's historic district, hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping her tethered to reality. 34 years old. Divorced. Well, separated. Living in a stranger's house with furniture she'd bought at thrift stores because Trevor got to keep everything in the settlement. Everything except her dignity, which she'd reclaimed the moment she signed those papers. 7 years. She'd given him 7 years of her life. The house was small, a converted carriage house behind a massive historic estate. Cream-colored stucco. Wrought iron details. Moss-draped oak trees that looked like they'd been standing since before the Civil War. Beautiful. Quiet. Nothing like the sterile modern condo she'd shared with Trevor in Atlanta. She grabbed the first box from her trunk, the one labeled Kitchen Essentials, and headed for the front door. That's when she heard it. Music. Live music. A guitar, skillful and melancholy, drifting from somewhere nearby. Sloane followed the sound around the side of the main house, curious despite herself. And there he was. Sitting on the back veranda of the estate, the main house her rental was attached to, was a man who looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread. Tall, she'd guess 6'3" from this distance. Dark hair that needed a cut. Sharp features. White. Wealthy, judging by the house. Wearing jeans and a faded gray t-shirt, barefoot, playing guitar like he'd been doing it his whole life. He looked up. Caught her staring. Hazel eyes. Even from 20 feet away, she could see they were hazel. And currently filled with surprise. Sorry, Sloane called out, embarrassed. I didn't mean to intrude. I'm your new tenant. Just moved into the carriage house. He set down the guitar. Stood. And wow, he was tall. Rhodes Ashford. He came down the veranda steps, extended his hand. Welcome to the property. You're Sloane Baptiste. Yes. She shook his hand. Warm. Strong. Brief. The rental agency mentioned you'd be moving in this week. Need help with boxes? Oh, no. I've got it. It's not much. Not much usually means either you're a minimalist or you're starting over. His voice was kind. Not prying. Just observant. Starting over, she admitted. Fresh start. New city. New life. Good city for that. He smiled, and something in her chest did a weird flutter thing she hadn't felt in years. Savannah's good at helping people find themselves again. Is that what you did? Found yourself here? Still looking? The smile turned slightly sad. But I'm getting closer. An awkward pause settled between them. Not uncomfortable, just aware. Like they were both people carrying heavy things and recognizing that weight in each other. I should let you get back to unpacking, Rhodes said finally. But if you need anything, recommendations, directions, help with a stubborn door, I'm usually around. I work from home mostly. Thank you. That's kind. And Sloane. He paused at the veranda steps. Welcome home. Something about the way he said it, gentle, genuine, made her throat tight. She managed a smile. Went back to her car. Started unloading her meager possessions into this new chapter of her life. But she couldn't stop thinking about hazel eyes and the man who played guitar like he was confessing secrets to the trees. Inside the carriage house, Sloane surveyed her new domain. Open floor plan. Kitchen barely big enough to turn around in. Living area with exposed brick and tall windows. Bedroom tucked into what used to be the hayloft, accessed by a narrow staircase. Bathroom with a clawfoot tub that had probably been there since 1920. It was nothing like the life she'd left behind. It was perfect. Her phone buzzed. Text from Camille, her best friend since college. How's the new place? Sloane took a photo of the brick wall and windows, sent it. Small. Old. Mine. Good. You deserve your own space. Your own life. Met my landlord. He's. She paused, unsure how to finish that sentence. He's what? Hot. Single. Available. I don't know. Sad, maybe. But kind. Oh no. You've got the look. What look? The, I'm drawn to wounded souls, look. Girl. You just left a marriage. Relax. I said he was kind. Not that I'm interested. Sure. Keep telling yourself that. Sloane put her phone down. Camille didn't understand. This wasn't about being interested in anyone. This was about rebuilding a life that Trevor had systematically dismantled over 7 years. The emotional neglect. The casual cruelty masked as jokes. The way he'd convinced her that her dreams of being an artist were hobbies, not careers. That her opinions didn't matter. That she should be grateful he'd married her at all. She'd believed him. For too long, she'd believed him. Now, at 34, she was finally free. And terrified. And determined not to waste this second chance. That night, unable to sleep in the unfamiliar space, Sloane sat by the window overlooking the main house. Rhodes was on his veranda again. No guitar this time. Just sitting. Staring at nothing. Looking as lost as she felt. She wondered what his story was. What brought a man who could afford a historic Savannah estate to sit alone at midnight, looking like the weight of the world rested on his shoulders. Then she caught herself. Not your problem, Sloane. Not your job to fix broken men anymore. She pulled the curtains closed. Went to bed. Tried not to think about hazel eyes and guitar music that sounded like loneliness given melody. The next morning, Sloane woke to knocking. She stumbled downstairs, still in her oversized t-shirt and sleep shorts, hair a mess. Opened the door. Rhodes stood there, holding a basket. Morning, he said, looking slightly embarrassed. My housekeeper, Lucia, insisted I bring you this. She said new neighbors need proper welcoming. The basket was full. Fresh bread, local honey, peaches, coffee, a container of what looked like homemade chicken salad. This is, wow. Thank you. Tell her thank you. She's been with my family since I was a kid. Takes the Southern hospitality thing very seriously. He shifted his weight. Also, there's a card in there with all the important local numbers. Plumber, electrician, best pizza place. Lucia's comprehensive. Sloane found herself smiling. She sounds amazing. She is. Keeps me functional. He paused. I'm sorry for showing up early. Lucia was very insistent. It's okay. I should have been up anyway. Need to start job hunting. What do you do? I'm an artist. Painter, mostly. But that doesn't pay bills, so I'll probably find something in retail or... She trailed off, hearing Trevor's voice in her head. Hobbies. not careers. There's a gallery downtown. The Starling. Owner's a friend. They're always looking for new artists to feature. I could introduce you. You don't have to do that. I know. But Savannah's art scene is good for emerging talent. And if you're starting over, might as well start with what you love. She looked at him, really looked, at the kindness in his hazel eyes. The way he held himself like someone who'd learned to be careful with people. Why are you being so nice? The question came out sharper than she meant it. Rhodes didn't flinch. Because I know what it's like to start over. And I remember wishing someone had made it easier. What are you starting over from? Long story. But the short version? I built a company. Made more money than I know what to do with. Lost my dad. And realized I'd spent so long working that I forgot how to actually live. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. So now I'm here. In this house he bought before he died. Trying to figure out what living actually means. Sloane felt that familiar pull, the urge to fix, to comfort, to make it better. But she'd learned that lesson. She couldn't fix anyone but herself. I'm sorry about your dad, she said instead. I'm sorry about whatever brought you here. They stood there, two wounded people acknowledging each other's pain without demanding explanations. The gallery introduction would be great, Sloane said finally. If the offer still stands. It does. I'll text my friend Diana. She's there most afternoons. Thank you, Rhodes. Anytime, neighbor. He left. Sloane closed the door. Leaned against it with that basket in her arms and something unfamiliar blooming in her chest. Hope, maybe. Or possibility. Or the dangerous beginning of believing that good things could still happen. 3 days after moving in, Sloane stood outside the Starling Gallery, her portfolio clutched to her chest like armor. Diana Rousseau, the owner Rhodes had introduced her to via text, was expecting her at 2 p.m. It was 1:58. Sloane's hands were sweating. 7 years with Trevor had done this to her. Made her doubt everything. Made her believe her art was worthless, that her dreams were embarrassing, that she should be grateful anyone looked at her work at all. She took a breath. Pushed open the door. The gallery was stunning. White walls. Natural light pouring through tall windows. Current exhibition featured bold abstract pieces in jewel tones. You must be Sloane. The woman approaching was 60-something, black, with silver locks and the kind of presence that filled a room. She wore flowing linen and chunky silver jewelry. Diana. That's me. Rhodes said you're a painter. Let's see what you've got. No small talk. Straight to business. Sloane appreciated that. She opened her portfolio with shaking hands. The paintings were mostly from before Trevor. Before he'd convinced her to stop wasting time on art. A few recent ones, done in secret during the last months of her marriage, when she'd finally admitted to herself that she was drowning. Diana studied each one in silence. Long silence. Painful silence. Finally, these are good. Thank you. No. Listen to me. These are really good. This 1 inch, she pointed to a piece Sloane had titled Unraveling. This belongs in a museum. The emotional vulnerability here. The technical skill. You're not an emerging artist. You're an artist who's been hiding. Sloane felt tears prick her eyes. I stopped painting for a while. Why? Someone convinced me I wasn't good enough. Diana's expression hardened. Someone was an idiot. Or threatened by your talent. Or both. She closed the portfolio. I want to feature you in our August showcase. Small collection, maybe 4 pieces. You'd have 3 weeks to prepare. Can you do that? Yes. Absolutely yes. Good. This is what Savannah needs. Raw, real, emotional work. Not another pretty landscape. Diana smiled. Rhodes was right to send you to me. He seems to have good instincts about people. He does. And he's been alone too long. That man works himself half to death because he doesn't know what else to do with himself. Sloane shifted uncomfortably. I'm just his tenant. Diana's knowing look said she wasn't buying it. Sure you are. Come back next week. We'll discuss pieces, pricing, framing. And Sloane, stop hiding your gift. The world needs to see this. Sloane practically floated back to the carriage house. Her first gallery showing. In 3 weeks. She was terrified, exhilarated, alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. Rhodes was on his veranda again, laptop this time instead of guitar. How'd it go? He called out when he saw her. She wants to feature me. August showcase. His face lit up, genuine happiness for someone he barely knew. That's amazing. Congratulations. Thank you. For the introduction. For believing I was good enough to introduce. I didn't introduce you because I thought you were good enough. I introduced you because Diana's the best at spotting talent, and I figured if you had the courage to start over as an artist, you probably had something worth seeing. You haven't even seen my work. Don't have to. I can see it in the way you talk about it. The way your whole face changed when I mentioned the gallery. He closed his laptop. That kind of passion doesn't lie. They looked at each other across the courtyard. Something humming in the air between them. I'm making dinner to celebrate, Sloane heard herself say. Nothing fancy. Pasta. Wine if I can afford it. You're welcome to join. To thank you. For the introduction. She regretted it immediately. Too forward. Too presumptuous. He was a billionaire. He didn't want her cheap pasta. But Rhodes smiled. What time? 7. I'll bring the wine. At 6:45, Sloane was spiraling. What had she done? Invited her landlord, her billionaire landlord, to dinner in her tiny rental house? With thrift store furniture and dishes that didn't match? The pasta sauce was simmering. The table was set. Candles, because the overhead light made everything look sad. She'd changed 3 times. Settled on a simple green sundress. Nothing fancy. Casual. Neighborly. 7 o'clock exactly. Knock on the door. Rhodes stood there with 2 bottles of wine, expensive ones she could tell, and a bakery box. Tiramisu, he said. From that Italian place on Broughton. Figured dessert was important for celebrations. You didn't have to do that. I know. But Lucia taught me you never show up to dinner empty-handed. He'd changed too. Dark jeans. Navy button-down with the sleeves rolled up. Hair still slightly messy but in a way that looked intentional now. He was devastating. Stop it, Sloane. Come in. Sorry it's so small. It's cozy. I like it. He looked around, taking in her space. Stopped at the few sketches she'd pinned to the exposed brick wall. Are these yours? Yeah. Just warm-ups. Nothing serious. He studied them. These are incredible. The way you capture emotion in simple lines. He turned to her. You're really talented, Sloane. She didn't know what to do with genuine compliments. Trevor had trained that out of her. Thank you, she managed. Wine. They settled at her small table. She served the pasta, nothing special, just marinara and fresh basil. This is perfect, Rhodes said after the first bite. Way better than the takeout I've been living on. You don't cook. I can. Just don't usually bother when it's just me. Seems like a lot of effort for one person. I get that. I barely cooked when I was. She stopped. When you were married? She nodded. He didn't like my cooking. Said I always messed things up. Rhodes's jaw tightened. Your ex-husband sounds like he had a lot of opinions about you. All of them negative. She took a sip of wine. It was delicious, smooth, probably cost more than her weekly grocery budget. Sorry. I don't usually talk about him. It's okay. I asked. He paused. For what it's worth, this pasta is delicious. And your art is extraordinary. And anyone who convinced you otherwise was either blind or deliberately cruel. Deliberately cruel, Sloane said quietly. That's the right answer. How long were you married? 7 years. Met him when I was 26. He was older, successful, seemed to have his life together. I was young and stupid and thought love meant someone wanting to change you into their ideal version. That's not love. That's control. Yeah. Took me until 34 to figure that out. Rhodes refilled her wine. My dad used to say the bravest thing a person can do is admit they were wrong and choose differently. You did that. That's not small. What about you? Diana mentioned you work too much. Is that your version of running away? Definitely. He smiled ruefully. My dad died 5 years ago. Heart attack. Came out of nowhere. He was only 62. And I realized I'd spent the previous 10 years building a company, making money, barely seeing him. I missed his last few years because I was too busy being successful. That's not your fault, isn't it? He asked me to slow down, to spend time with him. I said I would, after this deal closed, after that launch, after the next thing. And then he was gone and there was no after left. Sloane reached across the table, took his hand without thinking. He knew you loved him. Maybe. But I didn't show up. And now I live in this house he bought because he wanted to retire here, and I work from home because I'm terrified of missing more life. But I don't actually know how to have a life. I just exist, work, sit on that veranda and wonder what he'd think of who I've become. His voice cracked. He looked down at their joined hands like he'd just realized she was touching him. Sorry, Sloane said, pulling back. I shouldn't have. No. It was nice. I'm not used to people just being kind without wanting something. Is that what your life is like? Everyone wanting something. Pretty much. Money does that. Makes people see you as a resource instead of a person. I don't see you that way. I know. That's why I said yes to dinner. They looked at each other. Something shifting. Deepening. Tell me about your art, Rhodes said, clearly changing the subject. What do you paint? What inspires you? And Sloane found herself talking. Really talking. About color and emotion and the way light changed perception. About her father, who'd encouraged her art before he died. About the years with Trevor when she'd stopped creating, stopped seeing beauty, stopped believing she mattered. Rhodes listened. Actually listened. Asked questions. Engaged with her ideas. It was intoxicating. Being seen. Being heard. By the time they finished dinner, and the tiramisu, which was incredible, it was after 11. I should go, Rhodes said, standing. Let you sleep. You've got paintings to create. Thank you for coming. And for the wine. And dessert. And everything. At the door, he paused. Can I be honest about something? Always. I've been alone a long time. By choice, mostly. It felt easier than risking connection. But tonight was the first time in years I've actually enjoyed talking to someone. Actually wanted to stay instead of making excuses to leave. Sloane's heart hammered. Me too. Friends. He offered. Friends. She agreed. But as he walked back to the main house, she knew that word was already a lie. Whatever this was between them, it was more than friendship. It was the dangerous beginning of something neither of them had meant to start. A gallery showing. A dinner that turned into something deeper. Two people who've been alone too long finding comfort in each other's company. Sloane's learning what it feels like to be truly seen. Rhodes is remembering what it means to connect. They called it friendship. But the way they looked at each other over pasta and wine? That wasn't friendship. that was the beginning of falling. And neither of them knows if they're ready for what comes next. Keep watching. The story deepens. 3 weeks passed in a blur of paint and possibility. Sloane created. Really created. Poured 7 years of pain and confusion and slow suffocation onto canvas. Then poured hope. Recovery. The tentative belief that maybe she deserved good things. Rhodes became part of her routine. Coffee on the veranda in the mornings, him with his laptop, her with sketch pads. Dinners once or twice a week, trading cooking duties. Long conversations about everything and nothing. He told her about building his company. About the loneliness of success. About missing his father every day. She told him about Trevor. About losing herself slowly. About the moment she'd finally looked in the mirror and not recognized the woman staring back. They were careful. Both of them. Keeping just enough distance to pretend this was only friendship. But the tension was building. Every accidental touch. Every lingering look. Every moment they stood too close and neither moved away. Camille noticed. "You're falling for him," she said during one of their phone calls. "I'm not. We're friends. Girl." Nobody has that smile in their voice when they talk about just friends. "Okay, maybe I like him. But I can't act on it. I literally just left Trevor 4 months ago. I'm not ready." "When will you be ready?" "When some cosmic alarm goes off. Life doesn't work that way. I don't know how to trust my judgment anymore. Trevor messed me up. What if I'm just drawn to Rhodes because he's being kind? What if I'm confusing genuine connection with just wanting to be seen? What if you're overthinking? What if this is exactly what it looks like, two good people finding each other?" "I'm scared." "I know, babe. But don't let fear make you miss something beautiful." The night of the gallery opening arrived. Sloane stood in front of her 4 paintings, hung professionally on the starling's white walls, and felt like she might throw up. Unraveling. Breaking point. First breath. Becoming. Her journey from suffocation to freedom, displayed for strangers to judge. "You look terrified," Diana said, appearing beside her with a glass of champagne. "I am. What if people hate them?" "Then they hate them. But they won't. Trust me. I've been doing this 40 years. I know what speaks to people." The gallery filled. 50 people, maybe more. Art collectors. Local artists. Curiosity seekers. And Rhodes. He arrived exactly at opening time, dressed in a dark suit that probably cost more than her car, looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine. But when he saw her, his face softened into that smile that made her chest ache. "You look beautiful," he said. She'd chosen a simple black dress, thrifted, but elegant. Her natural hair was styled in twists pinned up. Minimal jewelry. She'd wanted the focus to be on the art, not her. "Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself." "I try." He looked at the paintings on the wall. Really looked. Spent long minutes in front of each one. When he turned back to her, his eyes were bright. Emotional. "Sloane. These are, God. They're devastating. Beautiful and devastating. That's what 7 years of losing yourself looks like." "No. That's what surviving looks like. That's what courage looks like." He stepped closer, lowered his voice. "I'm so proud of you." 4 words. Simple words. But they hit her like a freight train. Trevor had never been proud of her. Not once in 7 years. Rhodes. Sloane Baptiste. A woman approached, white, 50s, dripping money based on the jewelry alone. "I'm Margaret Chen. I'd like to purchase Breaking Point. Is it available?" Sloane's mind went blank. Yes. Diana handles all sales." "Wonderful. I'll speak with her. Your work is extraordinary. Raw and honest. We need more of this." She smiled and walked away. Sloane stared at Rhodes. Did that just happen? That just happened. And look. 3 more people were talking to Diana, pointing at paintings, pulling out phones. They're interested, Rhodes said, grinning. Sloane, you're selling your work. The evening became a blur. Conversations with strangers who saw something in her paintings. Questions about her process, her inspiration, her journey. More people expressing interest in purchasing. By 8 p.m., Diana pulled her aside. All 4 are sold. Unraveling went to a private collector from Charleston. The other 3 to locals. And I've got 3 people asking about commissions. She squeezed Sloane's hand. You did it, honey. You're officially a professional artist. Sloane felt tears spill over. Happy tears. Shocked tears. Overwhelmed tears. Thank you. Thank you for believing in me. Thank yourself. I just gave you the platform. You did the work. After the gallery closed, Rhodes walked Sloane home. The Savannah night was humid, alive with cicadas and the scent of jasmine. They walked slowly, neither wanting the evening to end. How does it feel? Rhodes asked. Being a successful artist? Surreal. Terrifying. Amazing. She laughed. I keep waiting to wake up and find out it was a dream. It's real. You're talented, Sloane. The world just finally got to see it. They reached the carriage house. Stopped at her door. Do you want to come in? She asked. Celebrate properly? I think I have some of that wine left. I'd like that. Inside, Sloane poured wine while Rhodes looked at the sketches on her wall. These are new, he said, pointing to a series she'd been working on lately. Yeah, they're different. Not about Trevor. About what comes after. What does come after? She handed him his glass. I'm still figuring that out. But I know what I don't want. I don't want to shrink myself for anyone. I don't want to apologize for taking up space. I don't want to be with someone who sees me as a project to fix. What do you want? The question hung between them, heavy with meaning. Someone who sees me, Sloane said quietly. Someone who lets me see them back. Someone who understands that we're both messy and broken, but that doesn't mean we're not worth knowing. Rhodes set down his wine. Took a step closer. Sloane, I need to tell you something. Her heart hammered. Okay. I haven't been this interested in anyone in years. Maybe ever. Not just attracted, though I am, God help me, but genuinely interested in knowing you. In hearing your thoughts. In watching you come alive when you talk about your art. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. I told myself we were just friends. That you'd just left a marriage and needed space. That I shouldn't complicate your fresh start. Rhodes. But I'm lying to myself. Because when you succeeded tonight, I was happier than I've been about anything in my own life in years. And when that guy at the gallery was flirting with you, I wanted to punch him. And right now, standing here, all I want is to kiss you. Silence. Charged silence. So why don't you? Sloane whispered. Because I don't want to be a rebound. I don't want to be the thing you regret when you've had more time to heal. She moved closer. Until they were inches apart. What if you're not a rebound? What if you're the first real thing I've felt in 7 years? What if I'm terrified and not ready but I want this anyway? Are you sure? No. But I'm tired of waiting until I'm sure. Trevor made me doubt everything. Made me second-guess every instinct. Maybe it's time I start trusting myself again. Rhodes lifted his hand. Cupped her face gently. Gave her every opportunity to pull away. She didn't. The kiss was soft at first. Tentative. A question. Then deeper. Hungrier. An answer. Sloane melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt. He kissed like a man starving for connection. Like someone who'd been alone too long and finally found home. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Rhodes pressed his forehead to hers. "I don't want to rush you," he said. "Then don't. But don't run away either. Can we just see where this goes? No pressure. No expectations. Just us, figuring it out together." "I can do that." "Good." She smiled. "Because I really want to kiss you again." Thank God. This time when they kissed, it was with the understanding that something had shifted. That friendship had become something more. That two people who'd been broken were choosing to be vulnerable with each other. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. It was exactly what neither of them knew they needed. They talked until 2 in the morning. On her couch, wrapped around each other, sharing stories and fears and hopes. Rhodes told her about his first business failure. About the panic attacks after his father died. About lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering if success was worth the loneliness. Sloane told him about the night she decided to leave Trevor. About packing in secret. About the terror of starting over at 34 with nothing. "You're the bravest person I know," Rhodes said. "I'm scared all the time. That's what makes it brave. Doing it anyway." When he finally left, kissing her goodnight at the door like a teenager, Sloane floated upstairs to her bedroom. Her phone buzzed. Text from Camille. "How'd the show go?" Sloane smiled. "Sold all 4 paintings. And I kissed Rhodes. Girl. Details. Now. Tomorrow. Too happy to type. I'm so proud of you. You deserve this." Sloane looked out her window at the main house. Rhodes's bedroom light was still on. She did deserve this. Deserved joy. Deserved passion. Deserved someone who saw her as a whole person, not a project. For the first time in 7 years, she wasn't just surviving. She was living. August in Savannah was brutal. Heat that pressed down like a living thing. Humidity that made the air taste thick. But Sloane barely noticed. She was painting, creating, thriving, and falling in love. Though neither of them said those words yet. Rhodes was careful with her. Respectful of boundaries she didn't even know she needed. They took things slow, dates that felt like extended conversations, kisses that left her breathless, nights that ended with him going back to the main house even though they both wanted more. "I don't want to rush this," he'd say, kissing her forehead at her door. "I know. Thank you for that." But the tension was building. The wanting. The need to be closer in every way. 2 weeks after the gallery opening, Sloane got a call from Diana. "I've got a proposal for you. Sit down." "I'm sitting." Atlanta Contemporary wants to feature you in their Emerging Artists series. 3-month installation. Full wall dedicated to your work. This is huge, Sloane. Her heart stopped. "Atlanta. I know. Your ex is there. But this is your career. Your dream. You can't let him take this from you." Sloane's mind raced. Atlanta. Where Trevor still lived. Where she'd spent 7 years disappearing. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. But don't think too long. They need an answer by Friday." That evening, she told Rhodes. They were on his veranda, her favorite spot now. He was teaching her guitar chords. She was terrible at it, but he was patient. "Atlanta Contemporary wants to feature me," she said, setting down the guitar. His face lit up. "Sloane, that's incredible. When?" 3-month installation. Starting in October. She paused. "It's in Atlanta." Understanding dawned. "Where Trevor is." "Yeah. And I don't know if I can go back there. Even for this. Even though it's everything I've wanted." Rhodes took her hand. "What are you afraid of?" "That I'll go back to that city and become that person again. That I'll see him and remember how small he made me feel. That I'll lose all the progress I've made." "You won't." How do you know? Because you're not the same person who left. Look at you, Sloane. You're thriving. Creating. You sold 4 paintings in one night. You've got people requesting commissions. You're not that woman who let Trevor erase her anymore. But what if? What if you're stronger than you think? What if this is exactly the moment you prove to yourself that he doesn't have power over you anymore? He squeezed her hand. I get it. Facing your past is terrifying. But you deserve this opportunity. And I'll be with you every step of the way if you want me there. Tears spilled over. You'd come to Atlanta with me? If you want. For the installation opening. For moral support. Hell, I'll sit in the gallery every day if it helps. She kissed him. Hard. Grateful. I love you, she said without thinking. Then froze. Too soon. Way too soon. They'd only been together 3 weeks. I love you too, Rhodes said quietly. Been trying not to say it because I didn't want to scare you. But yeah. I love you, Sloane Baptiste. Even though I'm a mess. Especially because you're a mess. You're real. You're human. You're not trying to be perfect. That's the whole point. She laughed through tears. This is crazy. We barely know each other. I know you lost your father when you were 31 and it broke something in you. I know you married too young to someone who didn't deserve you. I know you take your coffee with too much cream and paint when you're anxious and hum without realizing it. I know you're brave and scared and talented and learning to believe in yourself again. He cupped her face. I know enough. The rest we'll figure out together. I'm going to do it. The Atlanta installation. Good. And I want you there. Not because I need protection. But because I want to share it with you. I wouldn't miss it. They made love that night for the first time. Slow. Tender. He treated her like something precious. Asked permission with every touch. Made sure she knew she could stop anytime. Afterward, wrapped in his arms in his enormous bed, Sloane felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. Cherished. Seen. I never knew it could be like this, she whispered. Like what? Gentle. Equal. Like both people actually care about the other person's pleasure. Rhodes's arms tightened around her. Trevor was a selfish bastard in every way, wasn't he? Pretty much. Well, get used to this. Because I plan on spending a lot of time making you feel good. She smiled against his chest. I can live with that. September arrived with slightly cooler temperatures and the Atlanta installation looming. Sloane created 5 new pieces specifically for the show. Bolder. More confident. Her After Trevor collection, she called it privately. Rhodes handled logistics. Booked them a hotel near the gallery. Arranged for professional shipping of her work. Made dinner reservations at nice restaurants. You don't have to do all this, she protested. I want to. Let me take care of you, Sloane. Not because you can't take care of yourself. But because I want to. The difference mattered. Trevor's care had been about control. Rhodes's care was about support. Camille called the night before they left. You ready for this? No. But I'm doing it anyway. That's my girl. And Rhodes is going with you. Yeah. He's been amazing, Cam. Like, actually amazing. Not amazing for a guy. Or, amazing considering. Just genuinely kind and supportive and, you love him. I really do. Is that crazy? It's been like 6 weeks. Time doesn't matter when it's right. My grandparents knew after 2 weeks. Been married 60 years. What if I'm making another mistake? What if I'm just grateful for someone treating me well and I'm confusing that with love? Sloane, listen to me. You know the difference. You're not 27 anymore. You're 34, you've lived through hell, you know yourself now. Trust that. I'm trying. Good. Now go to Atlanta. Kill it with your installation. Show Trevor's stupid ass what he lost. And let that good man take care of you. Thanks, Cam. Always. Love you, girl. Love you too. Atlanta felt different. They arrived on a Thursday afternoon. The installation opened Saturday evening. Rhodes had booked them into a boutique hotel in Midtown, nowhere near the neighborhood she'd lived in with Trevor, which she appreciated. That night, they walked through Piedmont Park. The leaves were just starting to turn. How does it feel? Rhodes asked. Being back. Weird. Like visiting a place you used to live, but don't anymore. Familiar, but foreign. You want to drive by your old place? God, no. That chapter's closed. They found a bench overlooking the skyline. Rhodes pulled her close. I'm proud of you. For doing this. For not letting fear win. I'm proud of me too. 34-year-old Sloane is way braver than 27-year-old Sloane. She also has better taste in men. Sloane laughed. Definitely. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Froze. A text from an unknown number. Heard you're having an installation at Atlanta Contemporary. Congratulations. Always knew you had talent even if you didn't believe it. Trevor. Somehow he'd found out she was in town. Rhodes felt her tense. What's wrong? She showed him the text. His jaw clenched. Do you want me to respond? Tell him to fuck off. No. I'll handle it. She typed quickly. Thank you. Please don't contact me again. Blocked the number. There. Done. That was impressively badass. I'm not giving him any more of my energy. He doesn't deserve it. But her hands were shaking. Rhodes took the phone gently. Set it aside. Pulled her onto his lap. He can't hurt you anymore. He's just a guy now. No power. No control. Just a man who was too stupid to appreciate what he had. What if he shows up at the opening? Then we'll handle it together. But Sloane, even if he does, you're not alone this time. You've got me. You've got Diana. You've got Camille who will literally fly here if needed. And most importantly, you've got yourself. The version of you who left. Who built a new life. Who's thriving. He can't take that from you. She buried her face in his neck. Thank you. For being you. Thank you for letting me in. They sat there as the sun set over Atlanta, holding each other, two people who'd been broken, learning that healing didn't mean forgetting the pain, it meant not letting the pain define them anymore. Love declared. Boundaries set. Sloane's facing her past with Rhodes by her side. She's returning to Atlanta not as the woman who left broken, but as an artist who's thriving. Trevor tried to reach out, a last grasp at relevance, but she shut it down. She's not that person anymore. She's stronger, braver, in love with a man who sees her as an equal. But the installation opening is Saturday, and the question remains, will Trevor show up? And if he does, will Sloane's newfound strength hold? The confrontation is coming. Stay with us. Saturday arrived too quickly. Sloane woke tangled in Rhodes's arms at the hotel, anxiety already coiling in her stomach. Morning, he murmured, kissing her shoulder. How'd you sleep? Barely. Keep thinking about tonight. Your work is incredible. The installation is going to be perfect. And I'll be right there the entire time. What if Trevor shows up? Then he shows up. And you handle it like the badass you are. Rhodes turned her to face him. But Sloane, he's just a man. Not a monster. Not a god. Just a man who made you feel small because he was intimidated by how big you actually are. She kissed him. Drew strength from his certainty. Okay. Let's do this. Atlanta Contemporary was packed by 7 p.m. The installation was stunning. Sloane's 9 paintings, the 4 from Savannah plus the 5 new pieces, commanded an entire wall in the main gallery. Track lighting made the colors glow. Her artist statement was mounted beside the collection. This work chronicles a journey from erasure to reclamation. Each piece represents a stage of breaking free from a life that no longer fit, and learning to trust myself again. We are all constantly becoming. This is my becoming. Diana had flown up from Savannah. Camille had driven from Charlotte. They flanked Sloane like bodyguards. You good? Camille asked, squeezing her hand. Getting there. Rhodes stood slightly apart, giving her space to be the artist, but close enough that she could feel his presence. He looked devastating in a charcoal suit, but his eyes never left her, making sure she was okay. The curator, Marcus Chin, introduced Sloane to collectors, critics, other artists. People engaged with her work. Asked questions. Several expressed interest in purchasing. For an hour, Sloane forgot to be nervous. Then she saw him. Trevor. Standing across the gallery, staring at her paintings. He looked the same. Tall. Fit. Handsome in that polished, corporate way. White guy in an expensive suit who thought his presence was a gift. Her throat closed. Rhodes noticed immediately. Followed her gaze. His posture shifted, protective but not aggressive. You want me to ask him to leave? He said quietly. No. I need to do this. Camille grabbed her arm. You sure? Because I will absolutely cause a scene. I'm sure. Stay here. Sloane walked across the gallery. Each step felt like moving through water. Trevor saw her coming. Smiled that smile she'd once thought was charming and now recognized as condescending. Sloane. You look different. Hello, Trevor. Your work is impressive. Really. I always said you had potential. Lie. He'd said her art was a hobby. A waste of time. Something she'd grow out of. What are you doing here? She asked. I told you not to contact me. This is a public event. I'm allowed to support local art. He gestured to the paintings. These are about me, aren't they? About our marriage. The ego. The absolute audacity. These are about me, Sloane said evenly. About surviving you. But they're not about you. You don't get to be the center of my story anymore. His smile faltered. I don't know why you're being hostile. I'm trying to be supportive. I don't need your support. I don't want it. What I want is for you to leave. Sloane. Mr. Baptiste. Rhodes appeared beside her. Calm. Solid. His hand found the small of her back. Trevor's eyes narrowed. And you are Rhodes Ashford, Sloane's partner. The word partner felt deliberate. Equal. Trevor looked between them. Something ugly crossed his face. The realization that she'd moved on. That she was thriving without him. Already moved on, huh? That was fast. I moved on when I left you, Sloane said. This, she gestured to Rhodes, is me building a new life. A better life. One where I'm actually valued. I valued you. You didn't. Her voice was steady now. Strong. You made me small so you could feel big. You criticized everything I did. You told me my art was worthless, my dreams were stupid, my opinions didn't matter. You took 7 years of my life and made me believe I was lucky you stayed. Trevor glanced around. People were starting to notice the conversation. You're making a scene, he hissed. I don't care. You came here thinking what? That I'd be grateful for your attention? That I'd want your approval? She stepped closer. I don't need anything from you. I'm successful in spite of you, not because of you. And I'm happy. Really, genuinely happy. Something I never was with you. You're different, Trevor said, like it was an accusation. Yes. I'm myself again. The person I was before you spent 7 years trying to erase her. Trevor looked at Rhodes. You know she's damaged goods, right? She's got issues. Rhodes's expression went cold. Dangerous. Don't, Sloane said, putting a hand on his chest. He's not worth it. To Trevor, we're done. This conversation. Our history. All of it. You're nothing to me now. Not anger. Not pain. Just nothing. Go live your life. But stay out of mine. She turned and walked away, Rhodes beside her. Trevor called after her. You'll regret this. You'll realize what you gave up. Camille materialized out of nowhere. Hey, Trevor, she said sweetly. Security's on their way. You weren't actually invited to this event. So maybe leave before this gets embarrassing for you. She wasn't bluffing. 2 security guards were already approaching. Trevor looked at Sloane one more time. Saw she wasn't even looking back. And left. Sloane made it to the bathroom before she started shaking. Diana and Camille followed her in. You were amazing, Camille said. Like, genuinely badass. I've never been prouder. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's the adrenaline. But girl, you handled that like a champion. Did you see his face when you said he was nothing to you? Priceless. Diana handed her a damp paper towel. You stood your ground. Didn't let him diminish your accomplishments or make this about him. That took real strength. I couldn't have done it without Rhodes. And you guys. Yes, you could have, Diana said firmly. We were backup. But you're the one who faced him. You're the one who took your power back. There was a soft knock. Rhodes's voice. Can I come in? Yes. He entered, took one look at her tear-streaked face, and pulled her into his arms. You were incredible, he said into her hair. I was so scared. I know. You did it anyway. That's courage, baby. Sloane clung to him. Let herself feel the fear and the triumph and the overwhelming relief. He looked so small, she whispered. I spent 7 years thinking he was this huge presence in my life. And now he's just a man I used to know. Someone who hurt me but doesn't define me. Exactly. Rhodes pulled back to look at her. You're free, Sloane. Really, truly free. She realized he was right. For the first time since leaving Trevor 4 months ago, she actually felt free. The rest of the evening was perfect. 3 paintings sold during the opening. 2 more collectors asked about commissions. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution critic called her work emotionally visceral and technically masterful. At the hotel later, Sloane and Rhodes celebrated on the balcony overlooking the city. Thank you, she said, for being there. For not trying to fight him or control the situation. For just being steady. You didn't need me to fight him. You handled it yourself. I was just there to remind you that you're not alone anymore. I love you. I know it's fast and probably crazy, but I love you so much it scares me. Rhodes set down his champagne. Took her hands. It scares me too. But the good kind of scared. This matters too much to screw up, kind of scared. He kissed her knuckles. Move in with me. Sloane blinked. What? Move into the main house. Stop paying rent on the carriage house. Live with me. Really live with me. Rhodes, we've been together 8 weeks. I know. And I know it's fast. But I also know I don't want to sleep without you anymore. I don't want to say goodnight at your door and walk back to an empty house. I want to wake up with you every morning. Paint with you in the afternoons. Cook dinner together. Build a life together. What if it doesn't work? What if we're rushing, and then we'll figure it out? But Sloane, I spent 5 years alone after my father died. Convinced myself it was easier that way. And then you moved into that carriage house and everything changed. You make me want to be present. To live instead of just exist. I don't want to waste time being careful when I already know this is it for me. This is it for you? You're it for me. However long it takes. Whatever it looks like. I'm all in. Tears spilled over. Happy tears this time. Yes. Okay. Yes. Rhodes kissed her. Deep and full of promise. We're doing this, he said. Really doing this. We're really doing this. Below them, Atlanta sparkled with possibility. Above them, stars witnessed two people choosing each other. Choosing courage over fear. Choosing to believe that broken things could heal and become beautiful. Sloane had escaped a loveless marriage. But more than that, she'd found herself again. And in the process, she'd found someone who loved every part of who she was becoming. Trevor came. Trevor left. And Sloane realized he was never the giant she'd thought he was, just a small man who needed her to be smaller. She faced him. Stood her ground. Took her power back. And now, she's moving in with Rhodes. 8 weeks together and they're building a life. Fast. Maybe. But when you've spent 7 years suffocating, you learn not to waste time on fear. They're choosing each other. Choosing courage. Choosing to believe that broken people can heal and love and become more than their wounds. But life isn't a straight line. And loving someone doesn't erase all your fears. What happens when the honeymoon phase ends and reality sets in? The story continues. Keep watching. Moving into the main house happened gradually over 2 weeks in late September. Sloane didn't want to rush. Didn't want to lose herself in Rhodes's space the way she'd disappeared into Trevor's life. So they made it theirs together. Rhodes cleared out 2 rooms on the 2nd floor. One became Sloane's art studio, huge windows, northern light, space for canvases and organized chaos. The other became a library-office combo where they could work side by side. I don't want you to feel like you're just moving into my house, Rhodes said, helping her arrange easels. This is our house now. Your space. Your home. The difference mattered. Trevor had made their condo his domain. Sloane had been a guest in her own home, expected to adapt to his preferences, his aesthetic, his rules. Rhodes asked her opinion on everything. Paint colors. Furniture arrangement. Whether they should get a dog. They tabled that discussion for later. What do you want for dinner? Became a genuine question, not a test. How was your day? Came with actual interest in the answer. They learned each other's rhythms. Rhodes was an early riser, productive before noon. Sloane was a night owl, painting her best work after 10 p.m. They adjusted. Coffee together at dawn, even if Sloane was bleary. Late dinners when she emerged from the studio covered in paint. Lucia, the housekeeper, took to Sloane immediately. About time he brought someone worthwhile home, she said in her direct way. That man was wasting away alone in this big house. Has he really been alone all this time? Since his daddy died? Yes. Dated here and there, but nothing serious. You're the first person he's looked at like she matters. The information settled warm in Sloane's chest. But living together wasn't all romantic. They had their first real fight 3 weeks after she moved in. Rhodes had an important video call with investors. Sloane was in her studio with music playing, loud, lost in a piece about freedom and flight. He appeared in her doorway, frustrated. Can you turn that down? I'm trying to work. I'm working too. I have a call in 5 minutes worth $15 million. And I have a commission due next week worth $15,000. Does money make your work more important than mine? They stared at each other, both realizing this was about more than music volume. Rhodes softened first. You're right. I'm sorry. That was a dick thing to say. Your work matters as much as mine. I'll use headphones when you have calls. But don't ever imply my art is less important because it makes less money. I won't. I'm sorry. They compromised. Set boundaries. Established quiet hours for important calls. Created a signal system so they knew when the other needed uninterrupted time. It wasn't perfect. But it was healthy. They were learning to fight fair. To voice needs without attacking. To apologize and mean it. Trevor had never apologized. Not once in 7 years. October arrived with cooler weather and a phone call that changed everything. Sloane was in her studio when Rhodes appeared, face pale. "My mother's coming to visit." She set down her brush. "Okay. When?" "This weekend. Flying in from Boston. She wants to meet you." "That's good." "No. It's terrifying." He ran a hand through his hair. "My mother is difficult. After Dad died, she blamed me. Said if I'd been around more, if I'd made him slow down, maybe he wouldn't have had the heart attack. We haven't been close since." "Rhodes, that's not fair. You can't prevent heart attacks." "I know. Logically, I know. But she needed someone to blame, and I was the easy target." Sloane crossed to him. Took his hands. "What do you need from me? Just be yourself. Don't let her make you feel small. She's good at that. Making people feel inadequate." A chill ran through her. "She sounds like Trevor." "She kind of is. That's probably why I spent my 20s working constantly. Trying to prove I was worth something." "You are worth something. You're worth everything." He pulled her close. "I don't know what I did to deserve you. You were kind to a woman moving in next door. And you kept being kind. That's all it took." Margaret Ashford arrived Saturday afternoon. Sloane saw immediately where Rhodes got his height. His mother was tall, elegant, white, probably late 60s but looked 50. Designer, everything. The kind of woman who'd never had a hair out of place in her life. "Mother." Rhodes kissed her cheek stiffly. "This is Sloane Baptiste." "Sloane, my mother, Margaret." Margaret's gaze swept over Sloane. Assessing. Cataloging. Finding her lacking. "So you're the artist." Her tone made it sound like an insult. "I am. It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Ashford. Please, call me Margaret." Mrs. Ashford was my mother-in-law. She turned to Rhodes. "The house looks different. More colorful." Sloane's been adding her touch. Making it feel like home. How modern. They sat for tea, Lucia's idea, a buffer activity. Margaret dominated the conversation. Asked invasive questions masked as polite interest. "So Sloane, where did you go to school?" "Georgia State. Art program." "How nice. And you're from, where originally?" "Here. Well, Georgia. Born in Macon, grew up around Atlanta." "Family." "My mother lives in Augusta. Father passed away a few years ago." "I'm sorry to hear that. Losing a parent is difficult." The words were right, but the tone was empty. "And you were married before?" "Rhodes mentioned you're divorced." Sloane felt Rhodes tense beside her. "Separated. Finalized in July." "How recent? And you've moved in here already?" Margaret's smile didn't reach her eyes. "That certainly was fast." "Mother," Rhodes started. "I'm just saying, it's quite a leap from one man's home to another's in such a short time. Some might question the timing." The implication was clear. Gold digger. Rebound. Using Rhodes. Sloane had two choices. Shrink and let this woman intimidate her, the way she'd let Trevor intimidate her for years. Or stand her ground. She chose ground. "You're right, Margaret. It was fast. But after spending 7 years with someone who made me feel worthless, I'm not interested in wasting time being careful when I found someone who actually values me. Rhodes and I are building something real. And whether you approve or not won't change that." Silence. Margaret's eyebrows rose. "Well, you certainly speak your mind. I've learned that's important. Especially with people who might try to make me feel small." Margaret studied her with new interest. "You think I'm trying to make you feel small?" "I think you're testing me. And I'm letting you know I won't shrink for anyone anymore. Not for you. Not for anyone. More silence. Then Margaret laughed. Actually laughed. Good. You have a spine. The last girl Rhodes brought home cried when I asked about her career plans. She sipped her tea. I don't like you yet. But I respect you. That's a start. Rhodes looked between them, stunned. I don't understand what just happened. Your girlfriend stood up to me, Margaret said. More than you've done in 5 years. Maybe she's good for you after all. That night, after Margaret retired to the guest room, Rhodes and Sloane collapsed on their bed. That was the most stressful day of my life, he said. Your mother is intense. She liked you. In her weird, twisted way, she actually liked you. She said she respected me. That's different from liking. For her, it's the same thing. He rolled to face her. Thank you. For standing up to her. For not letting her intimidate you. I promised myself I'd never let anyone make me feel less than again. That includes future mothers-in-law. Rhodes froze. Future mother-in-law? Sloane realized what she'd said. I meant, hypothetically. Do you see a future with me? Like, a real future? Marriage and everything. Her heart pounded. Do you? Yes. Absolutely yes. I know it's soon. I know we're still figuring things out. But yeah, Sloane. I see forever with you. Me too. I see forever too. They kissed. Slow and deep and full of promise. I'm not asking yet, Rhodes clarified. I want to do this right. Court you properly. Make sure you're ready. But I'm all in for the long haul. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. Even with my terrifying mother? Even with your terrifying mother. Though if we have kids, we're limiting unsupervised visits. We're having kids. His smile was huge. Someday. Maybe. If you want them. I want everything with you. Kids. Marriage. Growing old together. All of it. Sloane felt tears prick her eyes. For months ago, I was trapped in a marriage that was killing me slowly. And now I'm here. With you. Talking about a future I actually want. It feels like a dream. It's real. We're real. He wiped her tears. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt that you deserve all of this. Sunday morning, Sloane woke to voices downstairs. Margaret and Rhodes, talking in the kitchen. She crept halfway down the stairs, eavesdropping shamelessly. Really happy, Mom. For the first time since Dad died, I feel like I'm living again, not just existing. She's very different from your usual type. That's the point. My usual type was safe. Superficial. No real connection. Sloane's real. She challenges me. Makes me better. She's also recently divorced and clearly still healing. We're both healing. That's why it works. We understand each other's wounds. A pause. Then Margaret, softer. Your father would have liked her. He always said you needed someone with fire. Sloane heard the emotion in Rhodes's voice. Yeah. He would have. Don't rush her, Rhodes. Marriage, children, forever. That's a lot to put on someone who's still rebuilding from a bad relationship. I know. I'm trying to be patient. But Mom, she's it for me. I've never been more sure of anything. Then hold on tight. And don't mess it up the way I messed things up with your father. We spent too many years fighting over stupid things instead of just loving each other. Don't make that mistake. I won't. I promise. Sloane wiped tears and retreated back to the bedroom. Margaret Ashford might be difficult. But she loved her son. And she was trying, in her own way, to make sure he was happy. That was enough. Moving in together. First fight. Meeting the terrifying mother-in-law. Sloane and Rhodes are building a real life together. Messy, complicated, beautiful. They're learning to compromise, to fight fair, to make space for each other without losing themselves. Margaret tested Sloane and Sloane passed by refusing to be intimidated. They talked about forever. About marriage and children and growing old together. It's fast, maybe too fast by normal standards. But after being trapped for 7 years, Sloane's done wasting time on fear. And Rhodes. He's finally living instead of just existing. They're healing together. But healing isn't linear. And sometimes the hardest battles aren't with the past, they're with yourself. Stay with us. The journey continues. November brought rain and unexpected turbulence. Sloane was thriving professionally. Commissions were pouring in. A gallery in Charleston wanted to represent her. Art blogs were featuring her After Trevor collection. But something was off. She couldn't name it at first. Just a low-level anxiety humming beneath everything. A waiting for the other shoe to drop feeling that wouldn't leave. Rhodes noticed. "Talk to me," he said one evening. They were in the library, him working on laptop, her supposedly sketching but mostly staring at blank paper. "I'm fine. You're not. You've been distant for a week. Did I do something?" "No. You're perfect. That's the problem." He closed the laptop. "I'm going to need you to explain that." Sloane set down her sketchbook. "Everything's going so well. Too well. My career is taking off. We're happy. Your mother even tolerates me. And I keep waiting for it all to fall apart." "Why would it fall apart?" "Because that's what happens to me. I get something good and then it gets taken away. My dad died. My marriage imploded. What if this is just the calm before everything goes wrong again?" Rhodes crossed to her. Knelt in front of her chair. "Sloane, listen to me. You're not cursed. Bad things happen to you, yes. But that doesn't mean more bad things are inevitable. Sometimes good things happen and they stay good." "How do you know?" "I don't. Nobody knows. But I do know that waiting for disaster is a way of protecting yourself that also keeps you from fully being present. And you deserve to be present for your own life." "What if I'm not good at this? At being happy? At being in a healthy relationship? Trevor trained me to expect criticism, to wait for the mood to shift. What if I can't unlearn that? Then we work on it together. Therapy, maybe. But Sloane, you're allowed to trust this. To trust us." She looked at him. This good man who'd chosen her, who showed up every day, who'd never given her reason to doubt. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know. But don't run from something good because you're afraid of losing it. That's just another way of losing it." Sloane called Camille that night. "I'm self-sabotaging," she admitted. "How?" "Looking for problems that aren't there. Waiting for Rhodes to turn into Trevor. Expecting disaster. That's trauma, babe. That's what happens when you spend 7 years in survival mode. Your brain's still in that mode even though the threat is gone. So what do I do?" "Therapy. Actual therapy. And be honest with Rhodes about what you're feeling. He seems like the kind of guy who can handle it." "He is. But what if I'm too broken? What if 7 years with Trevor damaged me too much to ever be normal again?" "First, normal is overrated. Second, you're not broken, you're healing. There's a difference. And third, Rhodes knew you were healing when he fell for you. He's not expecting perfect. He's expecting real. When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just finally started listening." Sloane laughed despite herself. "I love you." "Love you too. Now go talk to your man." She found Rhodes on the veranda, guitar in hand. He'd been playing more lately, said it helped him think. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Always." He set aside the guitar, patted the space beside him. Sloane sat. Took a breath. "I need to tell you something. About what's been going on in my head." "I'm listening." I'm having a hard time trusting that this is real. That you won't wake up one day and realize I'm not worth the effort. That I'm too damaged, too needy, too much work. Sloane. Let me finish. Trevor spent 7 years convincing me I was lucky he stayed. That no one else would want me. That my flaws were intolerable. And even though I know intellectually that he was wrong, that he was abusive, part of me still believes it. Part of me is waiting for you to confirm what he said. Rhodes's jaw clenched. I wish I could find that man and make him understand what he did to you. I don't need you to fight him. I need you to understand that I'm going to have these moments. Where I doubt myself, doubt us, where I need reassurance even though you've done nothing wrong. I can do that. Even if it's annoying? Even if it gets old? Sloane, look at me. He took her hands. I fell in love with you knowing you were healing from trauma. I'm not expecting you to be magically okay because we're together. Healing isn't linear. There will be bad days. That doesn't make you too much work. It makes you human. What if I need therapy? What if this takes years to work through? Then it takes years. I'm not going anywhere. And therapy is smart, not weak. I actually started seeing someone myself after Dad died. Took me 2 years to process the grief and guilt. Still working on some of it. You're in therapy. Might go back. It helped. He smiled. We're both works in progress, Sloane. That's okay. We don't have to be finished to be worthy of love. Something in her chest loosened. I want to find a therapist, she said. Someone who specializes in emotional abuse recovery. Will you help me look? Of course. Whatever you need. And if I have bad days, days where I'm unreasonable or withdrawn or scared, can you promise to be patient? I promise. And can you promise to tell me when you're having those days? So I know it's not about me. I promise. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Sloane said, "Thank you. For not making me feel crazy." You're not crazy. You're recovering. There's a difference. The next week, Sloane had her first therapy appointment. Dr. Patricia Moore was in her 50s, black, with kind eyes and zero tolerance for bullshit. Tell me why you're here, she said. Sloane laid it out. Trevor. The emotional abuse. The 7 years of erosion. The escape. Rhodes. The fear that she couldn't trust her own judgment anymore. You're experiencing hypervigilance, Dr. Moore sighed. When she finished. Your nervous system is still in threat detection mode because for 7 years, you had to constantly monitor your partner's mood to stay safe. That doesn't just turn off because you're in a healthy relationship now. So I'm not crazy. You're traumatized. That's not the same thing. She leaned forward. Sloane, what Trevor did was abuse. Emotional abuse is insidious because there are no visible bruises, but the damage is real. You've been conditioned to expect criticism, to anticipate rejection. Undoing that conditioning takes time and work. What if I can't undo it? You can. It won't happen overnight. But with work, you can retrain your nervous system to feel safe. To trust your judgment. To be present in your relationship without waiting for disaster. They talked for 50 minutes. Dr. Moore gave her homework, noticing when she was in threat response mode, practicing grounding techniques, keeping a journal of positive moments with Rhodes. The goal isn't to forget what happened, Dr. Moore said as they wrapped up. It's to integrate it. To acknowledge that Trevor hurt you without letting that hurt define every relationship moving forward. Sloane left feeling lighter. Hopeful. Maybe she wasn't broken. Maybe she was just healing. And maybe that was enough. The doubt crept in. 5 months after leaving Trevor, 4 months with Rhodes, and Sloane still waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because that's what trauma does. It makes you expect disaster even when everything's good. But she's not running this time. She's facing it. Getting help. learning that hypervigilance isn't weakness, it's a nervous system still recovering from 7 years of emotional warfare. Rhodes isn't scared of her healing process. He's walked his own path through grief and therapy. They're both works in progress. And maybe that's the point. You don't have to be healed to be worthy of love. You just have to keep showing up. But the holidays are coming. And the holidays have a way of bringing up everything you've been trying to avoid. Keep watching. More to come. December arrived with Christmas markets and an invitation that made Sloane's stomach drop. "Mom wants us to come to Augusta for Christmas," she told Rhodes over breakfast. "That sounds nice." "You haven't met my mother." Rhodes set down his coffee. "That bad?" "Not bad. Just intense. Opinionated. She loved Trevor. Thought I was making a huge mistake leaving him." "She sided with your abuser?" "She didn't see it as abuse. She saw it as me being ungrateful. Trevor was successful, stable, wanted to take care of me. In her mind, I was throwing away a good thing because I was being too sensitive." Rhodes's expression hardened. "I'm going to need to be very careful not to say something I'll regret when I meet her." "She's not malicious. She's just old school. Thinks women should be grateful for providers. That emotional connection is less important than financial security." "Sounds like she and my mother would get along great." Sloane laughed despite herself. "That's terrifying. Do you want to go? To Augusta?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to show her I'm happy. That leaving Trevor was the right choice. But part of me doesn't want to subject you to her judgment." "I can handle judgment. The question is whether you're ready for it." Sloane thought about Dr. Moore's advice: don't avoid difficult situations. Practice being present even when it's uncomfortable. "Let's go," she decided. "But we're staying in a hotel, not her house." "Deal." They drove to Augusta 3 days before Christmas. Diane Baptiste still lived in the house Sloane grew up in, a modest ranch in a quiet neighborhood. Christmas decorations covered every surface. Her mother took holiday decorating seriously. "Mama," Sloane called, letting herself in. Diane emerged from the kitchen, 62, round, warm smile that didn't quite reach her eyes when she saw Rhodes. "Baby girl. You made it." She hugged Sloane tight, then stepped back to assess Rhodes. "And this must be your friend?" "Boyfriend," Sloane corrected. "Mama, this is Rhodes Ashford." "Rhodes, my mother, Diane Baptiste." "Mrs. Baptiste. It's a pleasure." Rhodes extended his hand. Diane shook it, smile fixed. "Call me Diane. Come in, come in. I've got gumbo on the stove." The house smelled like Sloane's childhood: cayenne and file, sweet potato pie, pine from the real tree in the living room. Over lunch, Diane deployed subtle interrogation tactics that would make the CIA proud. "So Rhodes, what do you do?" "I run a tech company. Software development." And you live in Savannah?" "Yes, ma'am. Historic district." "That where Sloane's staying?" "In your house." Here it comes, Sloane thought. "We live together, yes." Diane's lips thinned. "That was fast. You've known each other, what?" "A few months." 5 months, Sloane said. "And before you say it, yes, it's fast. But it's also right." "I didn't say anything." "You were thinking it." Diane sighed. "I'm just worried about you, baby. You just left one man and immediately moved in with another. That's a pattern." "It's not a pattern. Trevor and Rhodes are nothing alike." "Trevor was good to you." "Trevor was abusive, Mama." Sloane's voice was firm. "Emotionally abusive. For 7 years. Oh, Sloane. Just because a man has strong opinions doesn't mean." "He told me my art was worthless. That my dreams were stupid. That I was lucky he stayed. That's not strong opinions. That's abuse." Diane looked uncomfortable. Every marriage has rough patches. This wasn't a rough patch. This was systemic erosion of my self-worth. Sloane reached for Rhodes's hand under the table. And I'm not going to minimize it to make you more comfortable. Silence. Tense silence. Rhodes spoke quietly. Mrs. Baptiste, Diane, I understand your concern. Sloane's your daughter, and you want to protect her. But I promise you, I'm not Trevor. I'm not here to control her or change her. I'm here because she makes me want to be better. Because watching her thrive is the best part of my day. Because I love her. Diane studied him. Then Sloane. Then sighed again. I don't like how fast this is moving. But I can see you're happy, baby. Happier than you were with Trevor, even if I didn't want to see it before. She reached across the table, took Sloane's other hand. Your daddy would have liked him. Would have appreciated a man who lets you shine instead of dimming your light. Sloane felt tears prick. You think so? I know so. Your daddy always said you needed someone who could keep up with you, not hold you back. Diane squeezed her hand. I'm sorry I didn't see what Trevor was doing. I was so focused on security and stability that I missed how unhappy you were. It's okay, Mama. It's not. But I'm seeing it now. She turned to Rhodes. You hurt my baby, and you'll answer to me. Understood. Yes, ma'am. Though I should mention I'm 6'3" and fairly intimidating. And I'm a black mother from the South. You don't stand a chance. Rhodes grinned. Fair point. The tension broke. Diane actually laughed. That evening, Sloane showed Rhodes her childhood bedroom. It was exactly as she'd left it, art supplies, old sketchbooks, posters of her favorite painters. This explains so much, Rhodes said, flipping through a sketchbook from high school. You were always an artist. Daddy encouraged it. Bought me supplies even when money was tight. Said art was as necessary as breathing. He was right. After he died, I stopped painting for a while. Trevor used that. Told me Daddy had just been indulging a childish hobby. That real adults didn't waste time on art. Rhodes set down the sketchbook. Pulled her close. Your father would be so proud of you now. Of what you've built. How you've survived and thrived. I wish he could have met you. Me too. Though I'm terrified he would have seen through all my pretenses and called me out on my workaholism. He absolutely would have. Then he'd have invited you to fish and talked your ear off about life priorities. They stood in her childhood room, wrapped around each other, surrounded by evidence of who she'd always been before Trevor tried to erase it. Thank you, Sloane said. For what? For loving all of me. Even the parts that are still healing. Even the parts that don't make sense. Those are the best parts. Christmas morning was surprisingly lovely. Diane made her famous cinnamon rolls. They opened presents. Sloane had gotten Rhodes' first editions of his favorite guitar tabs. He'd gotten her professional-grade art supplies she'd never have bought herself. Diane gave them matching ornaments with their names and 2024 inscribed. For your first Christmas together, she said. I figure you'll want to start your own traditions. Sloane cried. Happy tears. That afternoon, they drove around Augusta looking at lights. Diane told embarrassing childhood stories. Rhodes fit into their dynamic so naturally it was like he'd always been there. Your mother's warming up to me, he observed when they were alone in the hotel that night. She liked you after the gumbo lunch. The rest was just posturing. Think she'll ever fully approve? Eventually. Once she sees you're sticking around. Sloane paused. You are sticking around, right? Sloane. I bought you a $5,000 easel for Christmas. I'm not going anywhere. That easel was $5,000? Professional grade means professional price. Rhodes. You're worth it. Your art is worth it. End of discussion. She kissed him. Deep and grateful and full of love. Merry Christmas, she whispered. "Merry Christmas, baby." They fell asleep tangled together, exhausted and happy and exactly where they were supposed to be. Christmas in Augusta. Meeting Diane. Confronting a mother who didn't want to see the truth about Trevor. But Sloane didn't back down this time. She named the abuse. Stood her ground. And slowly, Diane saw it. Saw her daughter's happiness, saw Rhodes's genuine love, saw that maybe security isn't everything. Sloane's father would have liked Rhodes. Would have seen the goodness in him. And that matters, even though he's gone. They're building traditions now. Creating a life together. 6 months in and it feels like forever in the best way. But life keeps moving. And with a new year coming, new challenges arrive. Because healing isn't a straight line. And sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. The story continues. Stay with us.